welcome to Living in the Lehigh Valley, where our focus is your health and wellness. I'm your host, Brittany Sweeney. Joe Ciapetta lives life with a song on his lips, and that's a big part of what keeps him going. That and the love of his wife Dee, his family, and a palm-sized titanium pump called an LVAD. Here's our own Grover Silcox to share more of Joe's fascinating journey and the medical miracle that saved his life. Grover, welcome. Always great to see you.
Great to be here, Britt.
So tell us all about Joe.
Well, Joe Ciapetta is a fellow about my age with a beautiful tenor voice. He sang professionally for years, but he almost lost everything because of end-stage heart failure. Fortunately, he was saved by a left ventricular assistive device, otherwise known as an LVAD. It's an artificial heart pump, and it was installed by the LVAD team at Lehigh Valley Health Network in Allentown.
So how does he feel with this device in there?
Well, according to Joe, it's given him a new lease on life. He
Wonderful.
feels great.
That's amazing.
It sure is. The history of the left ventricular assistive device dates back to the 1960s. The first LVAD system was created at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston in 1962, and the first successful implantation was completed in 1966. Since that time, LVAD has become miniaturized and surgically implantable. Hey, Joe, how about a little tabletop entertainment?
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Please release me. Let me go.
73-year-old Joe Ciapetta of Scranton loves to sing.
And I will always want her near.
He's been singing since he was a teenager and has performed with his own a cappella group and some well-known groups through the years. Unfortunately, Joe suffered a heart attack about 15 years ago, and his heart weakened to the point where he eventually needed an artificial heart pump known as an LVAD to survive and regain his quality of life.
I wanted to live. Me and my wife, we spoke it over, and we decided that LVAD would be the best decision.
Joe needed a heart transplant, but because of his age and a cancer diagnosis, a transplant was out of the question. So he opted for the artificial heart pump.
It's one of the greatest things I've done. I mean, I keep singing. You know, I can sing now because before I couldn't. I lose my breath. I run out of breath. I couldn't breathe. I wake up at night. I couldn't breathe. But now everything's back to normal. Release me, my darling. Let me go.
Dr. Timothy Misselbeck, Chief of Adult Cardiac Surgery, and his team at Lehigh Valley Health Network in Allentown performed Joe's LVAD operation in 2023.
An LVAD is a mechanical heart device, and it stands for left ventricular assist device. It's something that we can implant into a patient to help their heart function better. And it often gives them a better quality of life, and the technology has improved a lot over the years. When it was first approved for human use, these were huge machines that the patients really even had a hard time leaving the hospital. And so the intent was to keep the patients alive long enough until they can get a transplant. Over the years, the technology has been improved, it's been miniaturized, and it's now to the point where a patient could leave the hospital with only a battery pack.
It's a true engineering marvel that we have this technology available to provide for the needs of our patients.
Dr. Misselbeck, he was very, very good. He did the operation, and I didn't feel nothing. I mean, I was sleeping, of course, but you know, next thing I woke up in the morning, I was like, I'm here, you know. I made it.
Although Joe didn't qualify for a heart transplant, turns out he was a perfect candidate for the LVAD, especially because of his motivation.
I had no doubts that he would do well. So the first thing we do when we meet a patient who may benefit from an LVAD is we talk with them. We show them the device. We try to get them to meet some of the other patients who have had an LVAD and how it's impacted their life. There's a bunch of medical testing to ensure that they're a good candidate. And afterwards, we correlate all that information and we make a decision. And then we move on to the dramatic part, which is the implantation process. It can take 2 to 4 hours in a good situation. Patients are usually in the hospital for about 10 days. Then they're discharged to home and they continue to get stronger, and we monitor them.
When I perform and do my singing, I wear this. This is the wire that goes into my stomach, up to my heart, to the pump to my heart. My batteries are in here. These are the batteries. This is the monitor. This tells you anything that goes on. If something goes wrong, one of these lights will light up.
So what should I expect?
You expect to hear a click from the valve and a wah, wah, wah type of thing
Okay.
from the pump.
One interesting change for the man who's used to keeping a beat. He no longer has a heartbeat himself.
Oh, wow. It actually sounds like a little music box.
See?
We moved to a new technology called continuous flow. So if you can imagine the flow through a garden hose. So these patients don't have a pulse like you and I have. They have flow that's continuous, like coming out of a garden hose.
Joe and his wife Denise now enjoy life the way they used to before his heart started to give out. LVAD gave him his life back and his voice.
My style is a lot of oldies. You know, I like 50s, 60s, 70s. I do crooner music, you know, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, stuff like that. I do some old songs that some of the groups I used to sing with, the Classic, the Mystics, the Drifters, all those guys. I do music like that. And I'm singing in a lot of nursing homes now and a couple of restaurants here and there. And it's still going.
Yes, LVAD gave Joe his life and his voice back. Meanwhile, his wife Dee lovingly watches over him to help him manage the device, while LVHN's LVAD care team remains his care team for life.
There are so many people involved with the care of an LVAD patient. It's certainly not just the surgeon. Once that patient is determined to be a potential candidate, they're seen by our team, which consists of cardiologists, a surgeon, and very importantly, a coordinator who is usually a nurse, and they help us correlate all the information, and they help the patient with their journey through the workup, through the surgery, and afterwards they become their best friend.
And so, Joe and Dee enjoy making every day a joyous one, with family, friends, and a life filled with pure harmony.
You know me. If anybody out there is thinking about LVAD, consider it. It's really a great thing to have. It'll bring your life back the way it was. And also, if you need a singer, you can call me. Thank you.
According to Dr. Misselbeck, LVHN has several patients who've made it 10 years and are still going. What's more, he said that as the technology continues to be miniaturized and the power options improve, one day there will be a fully implantable device that doesn't require an external battery. He believes that the future is very bright for these patients.
Grover, it's such a positive story and one that really underscores the possibilities medical technologies have in keeping us alive and well.
Absolutely. I think Joe and his wife Dee would agree, would be the first to agree.
It sounds like it hasn't just restored his life, but his quality of life as well.
Absolutely. And he really proved that when he belted out a couple tunes at the dining room table while we were chatting over coffee.
Just a really wonderful story. Sounds like a great guy.
He is.
All right, Grover, as always, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And that'll do it for this edition of Living in the Lehigh Valley. I'm Brittany Sweeney, hoping you stay happy and healthy. Hello and welcome to Living in the Lehigh Valley, where our focus is your health and wellness. I'm your host, Brittany Sweeney. Every 9 seconds, someone suffers a brain injury. Today, more than 5 million people in the U.S. are living with a brain injury, according to the CDC. That's the case for a Carbon County girl who uses her story to inspire others to never give up despite the cards they're dealt.
Never thought she was going to survive 10 years ago.
10 years ago, Emily Brong's mother received a call that would change her family's lives forever.
It was a Sunday. I'll never forget the phone call, 11/11, 1/19/2014. There's been an accident.
Beth Winter remembers every detail.
She was in with other girls. They were on their way to softball practice. They were over by Beltsville Lake, and a car hit black ice, and it hit the kids head on.
That accident left the 15-year-old with a traumatic brain injury and wheelchair-bound.
Emily was the only one with life-altering injuries.
Emily, what do you think about physical therapy?
Oh, I love it.
We spent 2 months at Lehigh Valley Trauma, and then fortunately, Good Shepherd was able to offer her an acute rehab bed, and she rehabbed at Good Shepherd for 7 months following her injury.
The outlook was grim, but somehow the teenager found the strength to carry on.
1, 2, 3.
Good job. Good job. Emily still obviously is a brain-injured individual, though her brain injury has made her more intelligent than she was prior to injury. That's my look on it all. But she is wheelchair-bound. She walks with her therapist.
Going. Don't stop. Keep going. Don't stop.
However, her left side's paralyzed, and she requires 24/7 care.
You're rocking and rolling. Let's rock and roll.
A decade later, Brong is thriving.
Whatever part of her brain it affected something that has made her a very happy, lucky, and just a pleasant person.
A lot of her progress, her mother attributes to the work she does at Good Shepherd Rehabilitation's Highland Center for Health and Technology.
We offer a diverse offering of rehabilitation, but we also hyper-focus on some catastrophic rehabilitation, which particularly involves spinal cord injury, stroke rehabilitation, and traumatic and non-traumatic brain injury.
Dr. Sandeep Singh is Good Shepherd's Chief Medical Officer and Senior Vice President of Medical Affairs. He says roughly 5% of their patients have a traumatic brain injury, so there are a multitude of resources offered to those who are part of that group.
We try to incorporate where the necessities of deficit are and identified so that we can layer in technologies, whether that's a functional stimulation unit that helps a patient take and pick up a glass for the first time after their injury, or help support their arm through mechanisms like a neuromove.
With the help of those resources, like the zero-G technology, Brong and patients like her have progressed in their overall movements.
Good. Shift. Right step.
When you implement that technology, we're really trying to tap into what we call the central pattern generator, which ideally is to help facilitate neuroplasticity, which is the kind of the model and mindset behind neurorehabilitation, and really help these patients progress in their path of recovery.
Emily is able to basically do a lot for herself independently, even though her left side is paralyzed. Emily goes to speech.
They help me in a new manner.
She is reading books now, which she has not done in over 10 years. She's comprehending things. Her memory's improving. Her speech is much clearer. Through occupational therapy, she's able to make her own bed. She can clean her own teeth. This is huge for somebody like Emily.
Clearly, it's a journey. It's not like an episode of care and then you're done. It really is this long-term journey and longitudinal care model that Good Shepherd buys into and what is really required for the brain injury population.
All right.
Good Shepherd provides physical, occupational, and speech therapy to the 26-year-old. As an advocate for brain injury awareness, Winter says she wants people to know there is hope for progress towards a normal life for survivors.
Keep fighting. Keep a positive outlook on life. It's easy to give up, very easy, but you just got to keep fighting.
Woo! Although Emily is wheelchair-bound now, her mother says she never thought her daughter would come as far as she has. When asked if she thinks Emily will ever walk on her own, she said she now believes anything can happen. That'll do it for this edition of Living in the Lehigh Valley. I'm Brittany Sweeney, hoping you stay happy and healthy. Hello and welcome to Living in the Lehigh Valley, where our focus is your health and wellness. I'm your host, Brittany Sweeney. A farm outside Allentown is being rejuvenated to offer fresh, organic produce to the Lehigh Valley's older population. Rodale Institute and Phoebe Ministries recently broke ground on Phoebe Organic Farm in a place familiar to the organic farming movement. With the scoop of a shovel, woo! A partnership is planted. The Rodale Institute and Phoebe Ministries are coming together to breathe new life into a piece of land that was pivotal to the concept of organic farming.
So J.I. Rodale purchased this farm in the late 1930s, and he started his research, which ultimately birthed what is now a $100 billion industry worldwide.
Rodale's Founders Farm sits just off Mine Site Road in Lower Macungie Township.
It was a very rundown farm when they bought it, and they completely regenerated it through not using any chemicals or pesticides and just doing composting and organic gardening.
Now the property is getting to once again be part of a movement as Rodale Institute and the Senior Services Organization, Phoebe Ministries, team up for a farm-to-table project.
We're going to utilize those initially at our Chestnut Ridge at Rodale site. We have 126 individual apartments over there with seniors, and we'll be providing the food that we grow here to that campus, and then it will extend out beyond that as we get further into the project.
At a moment in human history where we're more and more disconnected from our food source, we're now going to be able to point to this farm as a focal point in our community that's going to be growing healthy food for all of us to enjoy. Through the funding and the partnership at Phoebe Ministries, that funding is going to enable Rodale Institute to put up infrastructure and ultimately farm approximately 10 acres over the long term.
Though Rodale will maintain the farm, Phoebe residents will be invited to get their hands dirty as well.
We know that for people in retirement stage of life, they love gardening. There's something they're very passionate about. And so through this partnership, the residents in Phoebe will literally get their hands in the soil, which is really cool.
They love the idea. They're happy. Part of this is having them come out here and actually participate. They weren't grasping fully what that meant, so for me, they were like saying, we don't want to go hoe the field. It's like, I said, that's not what you're going to be doing. You're going to be having a good time over there. You'll enjoy it.
The initial crops will go to one section of the ministries, but the long-term goal is to expand and offer the organic produce to others in the community who may have a food insecurity.
Our socially disadvantaged communities deserve nutritious food as well, and so we want to make sure through this partnership that everyone in our community benefits.
In addition to 4 continuing care retirement communities, Phoebe also has 8 affordable housing locations, 3 long-term care pharmacies, and several other community-based services across 7 Pennsylvania counties. Now they are cultivating the land to continue cultivating relationships in the community.
It feels completely wonderful and appropriate, and I know my grandparents and my parents would be really happy with the whole way it worked out.
This farm had a rebirth in the early 1940s, and now we get to birth this farm anew again, and we're all very excited to get started. So without further ado, I think we're gonna move some dirt.
There's already a cover crop in the ground at the rehabbed farm. The produce will be planted in the spring. Those behind the project say they hope to set up a farmer's market in the future to offer the organic crops to the community. That'll do it for this edition of Living in the Lehigh Valley. I'm Brittany Sweeney, hoping you stay happy and healthy.